Hey, what's up guys? Alex here, and in this video we're going to talk about variance in sports betting, right? So as a sports bettor, you're going to go on losing streaks, you're going to go on winning streaks. I go through them all the time. So what we're going to talk about is variance, how you deal with variance, how you think about variance as a sports bettor. So we've said this in other videos, but one of the most important metrics that you track as a sports bettor is the percentage of your bets that are beating the closing line value. If you're beating the closing line, you are going to be profitable in the long run. If you're placing bets at plus 120 odds that are closing, fair, plus 110, then you are going to make money in the long run. You are getting better odds than the closing line. So of course you want your beat CLV percentage to be above 50. It's never going to be 100, of course, but 65, 70 is a number you're looking for. Whereas if you're getting, 40% here, 35% here, then something has to change. Otherwise, you're not going to be a profitable sports bettor in the long run. You're going to win a few bets, but you're getting lucky and you're not actually mathematically profitable. So we can go to an example. We can pull up baseball. We have the MLB Playoffs. So we can look at the Dodgers versus Braves game tomorrow. You can see it's a very close matchup. And you can also see the best odds on Caesars on the Dodgers, or the best odds on the Dodgers is on Caesars at minus 105 odds. Like this bet at minus 110 on DraftKings is not profitable. And this Braves bet at minus 110 odds isn't profitable. So, if you bet $110 on the Dodgers to win, your friend bets $110 on the Braves to win, one of you is going to win, right? There has to be a team that wins, but neither of these bets are profitable. Someone has to win, someone has to lose, but placing bets at minus 110 odds when, you can get minus 102 or minus 105, that's a surefire way to lose money sports betting. So you need multiple sports betting accounts, and you need to be able to dissociate your emotion in thinking, you're a smart bettor when you win, because a lot of times you're just, getting lucky. So I have a little spreadsheet, and what we're going to talk about in this video is just this, right? This concept of variance. You will go on losing streaks. Here we can see a losing streak. You will go on winning streaks, and it's just kind of, again, it's how it is as a sports bettor. So there are a few things I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to remove this. So I wanted to talk about expected value in sports betting. I think that was number 3. So expected value, fair odds, variance, and the law of large numbers. So first we can talk about expected value and fair odds. So before anything else, you don't even have to win 50% of your bets to be a profitable sports bettor. Now you do need to beat the closing line over 50% of the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to win, 50% of the time. And we can go through an example with golf, right? So if you're betting on golf tournaments and you're betting on a guy to win the tournament, people are typically, even the best golfers will be plus 700, maybe plus 800 at the minimum to win a tournament before it starts. There are a lot of golfers. So we can take the example of, let's say we have some golfer. We know that the true win probability for this golfer is 10%. 1 out of 10 times you play this tournament, if you were to go through different simulations, this golfer is winning 10% of the time, right? So that means this golfer is fair odds of plus 900. If you are winning 10% of your bets, plus 900 is the price where you break even. That means that is the fair price, right? So if we look at, if we were to bet a golfer, who's 10% to win, the fair odds are plus 900. What that means is you can lose your first 9 bets of $100, let's say, is the stake. And then, if you just win 1 out of 10 times, which is what we can see here, you win $900. That, when your golfer wins, and you break even, right? So you can lose 9 times $100 as long as you win $900 on that final 10th time. That is the concept of fair odds in sports betting. It is the break even, price where based on a true probability, you aren't making money or you aren't losing money. So in other words, if plus 900 is fair, then a bet at plus 850 is unprofitable, whereas a bet at plus 950 would be a mathematically profitable bet. You would make money in the long run if you were placing bets on golfers plus 950 who are fair odds of plus 900. So imagine we could get this golfer who we knew was going to be 10% to win. We could get him at plus 1100 odds. So that's a mathematically profitable bet, right? we know that this guy's going to win 10% of the time, so he should be plus 900 odds. That is the fair break-even price, and we're getting better than that. We're getting plus 1100. So that would be a bet that is mathematically profitable, right? So we're betting $100 to win $1,100, and we're winning 10% of the time. So what you can do is you can back out your expected value for this specific sports bet, and you can see, okay, 10% of the time I'm winning 1100, which is, D2, this sell times this sell. So 10% of the time I'm winning $1,100. The other 90% of the time I'm losing $100, right? So you're still losing 90% of the time. You're still usually going to lose $100 if you're staking $100 on this specific bet. But over the course of the long run, placing bets at this price, you're getting an edge of $20 per $100 bet, which is pretty incredible, right? That's a pretty incredible profit margin. So that would be a profitable bet. You have positive expected value. That is a positive EV bet. And you don't even have to win. You just have to win 10% of the time, and you're making, an edge of 20%, which is obviously pretty great. That's how you make money as a sports bettor. So really the key is recognizing that if I bet on a golfer who's 10% to win and he doesn't win, and I place that bet at plus 1100 odds, it doesn't mean I'm stupid. It doesn't mean I'm a bad sports bettor or I made a bad pick. It just means that he didn't win, like the 90% of the time we know he's not going to win, right? So as a sports bettor, you're going to have losses, you're going to have wins, you're going to have win streaks like we can kind of see here, and you're going to have losing streaks like what we see here. But the number that's really important is the percentage of time that you're beating the closing line value. This is really the most important metric to make money in the long run as a sports bettor, is you need this number to be as high as possible. If you are always beating the closing line or 80% plus or something like that, you are going to be profitable in the long run. There is no doubt, it is mathematically guaranteed that you're going to be profitable in the long run. You just need to beat the closing line as much as possible. So that's variance in sports betting, and right, it's the same kind of concept you can think about with regards to, so we talked about this, right? It's the same reason why probably your parents or other people have given you the advice to invest in the stock market, right? People always say that investing early is a good decision because the stock market goes up roughly 8% per year, which means if I put in $10,000, 20 years later, I should have roughly 47 grand in my account, which means a profit of this. Over the course of the long run, the stock market, tends to go up. This year we can see it's up from 3,700, the S&P 500. It's up from 3,700 to almost $4,500. So it's gone up like 20%, right? But of course there are down years, right? There are down swings in the S&P, and it doesn't mean if you invested in the stock market at this point and then you had a huge crash and you lost money at the start of COVID, it doesn't mean that you made a bad decision investing. It just means you had bad variance. And that's kind of the same thing in sports betting, is there are a lot of bets that are extremely good, extremely profitable that you won't win, right? Which is why it's really important to focus on this number, which is the percentage of time that you are beating the closing line. Because if you are consistently beating the closing line, then you're going to be profitable in the long run. There will be some heartbreaking losses and there will be some, amazing wins. There will be the highs and the lows. But if you're beating the closing line, that is how you know that you are going to make money in the long run, right? It's taking a more mathematical approach to sports betting. So yeah, the stock market, fair odds, expected value, variance, law of large numbers. I guess law of large numbers is important to talk about as well, which is just, it's like if you're flipping a coin, it's 50% to be heads, 50% to be tails. So if you're making a bet with a friend and you bet on heads and it shows up tails, right, you just got unlucky. Whereas over the course of the long run, that coin is going to land roughly 50% of the time on heads, 50% of the time on tails. That's called the law of large numbers. Like everything kind of goes towards the true probability, where if you flip a coin 10,000 times, it's going to show up heads roughly 5,000 times, tails roughly 5,000 times. The probability it shows up heads, 7,500 times and tails 2,500 times is almost non-existent. So we talked about basically everything I wanted to. So again, like you're going to have heartbreaking losses in sports betting. I've had a ton of them. I just looked through my DraftKings account to kind of see how much money I've lost on some days, which is a shit ton, and how much money I've made on some days, which is also a lot. And you just have to trust the process. You have to trust that beating the closing line is going to, make you money in the long run, because it will. So, absolutely along the way, there have been massive losses, especially, on specific teams that now I don't like, such as the Tigers. I always seem to lose money on the Tigers. But at the same time, you'll have some wins that you didn't even deserve. Like this free bet, I remember I placed on DraftKings, just an ungodly, amount of money I made. And largely luck, right? Like when I placed this bet almost a year and a half ago, I guess, which is pretty crazy at this point. But, I didn't expect for this bet to win, and I got very lucky, right? I got very lucky with regards to what I parlayed in terms of my free bet. And you'll see the same thing. Like I bet on this with the profit boost promotion on DraftKings, I bet on this guy to win by submission. So I placed the bet at plus 850 odds. I had a profit boost, so it was boosted to plus 1,700. And I thought this guy was maybe, I forget the exact numbers, I have it somewhere, but I thought he was roughly plus 600. I do some modeling and kind of looking at other markets. I thought this guy to win by submission should have been closer to plus 600. I think that's right, or maybe even plus 500. And, it ended up hitting. So you will have bets like Montana De La Rosa. Placed her at minus 200. It was steaming towards her. She ended up fair, roughly, minus 265. And she won, right? And you're going to have wins. You're going to have losses. I bet on Jordan Spieth in the Texas Open. Right? You're going to have wins. You're going to have losses. And it's really just about recognizing as a sports bettor, So a lot of UFC wins. It's really just about recognizing as a sports bettor that when you win, you didn't necessarily, you're not the smartest guy in the room. You just got lucky. It's about trusting the process, consistently working to increase this percentage, the percentage of time you're beating the closing lines. And if you're doing that consistently, like you're going to have big wins. And, you're going to have some losses along the way, a lot of losses, most likely, if you're taking sports betting seriously. But it's about trusting the process, tracking your profit and loss, making sure that every month your profit is going up, and consistently beating the closing line. So I hope you found this video helpful. It was kind of meant to shed a light into sports betting variance, the fact that you are going to lose a variety of bets in a row, which is what you can kind of see here, right? Went on a losing streak, probably lost 10K, right, before I won the next bet, and then go on a winning streak and make some of it back, and then have some really big wins. So it's all about trusting the process, getting odds that are better than the fair odds, what should be fair, and that's how you make money in the long run. So I hope you found this video helpful. Any questions, you can, of course, reach out to us about what sportsbooks to get, about closing line value, about anything at all. You can reach out to us. And I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks so much.